Okay, so I'm gonna go over what we did in class today. So I'm gonna go to page 9. This is our review for our quiz tomorrow. We do have a quiz over these 4 questions. And if you are quarantined, you will get a link to that quiz on Google Classroom. So you will be taking that quiz tomorrow with everybody else using Desmos as your calculator if you need one. So I'm just gonna go through this really quickly to review. So for number 1, X would also be 48. These are corresponding angles. We also say because we can draw an F, even though the F is backwards, if you can make an F, that means they're corresponding, which means they're equal. And then X and Y are on the straight line, that would add up to 180, so Y would have to be 132. So there's the first one. For the second one, complementary means 90. So 3x plus x plus 20 equals 90. And if you were to solve that for x, you would get 17.5. Number 3, we're going to do our double distribution, and your final answer is going to be 6x squared plus 9x minus 6. And then the last one, graph the point 4, -3, and that is point H. And it says reflected over the y-axis. Well, here's the y-axis, so you just count. H is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be the new H. So what I would do is I would pause this video, maybe go through this, practice all these, finish, like actually write out the work for these 2 questions. Make sure you get the answers correctly so that you're ready for tomorrow's quiz. Another thing I want to point out on this last one for tomorrow's quiz, let's say we're still using this point. It's going to say, what is the new point if you reflect it over y equals -x? Well, some of you weren't here when we learned this, but when you have -x, the trick is you flip these points around and change their signs. So 3 is going to go first now, and it's going to be +3, and now it's going to become -4. So this would be your answer if this was the question on tomorrow's quiz. Again, the question is going to be -x, but I'm just saying if using this point, it would be +3, -4. So please make sure you review this and let me know if you have questions before the quiz tomorrow. So in class, we went over that. And then we also went back and finished page 7 because we had kites to finish from yesterday for most of you. Now, hopefully you have your graphic organizer. If you remember, your graphic organizer can be used on the next 2 tests. And these are the properties that you need to have for a kite. So, and I want you to, doesn't matter, both of these are the same. I try to make it a little neater, so maybe copy this one, it's a little neater. So right now, I would pause the video, copy these down on your graphic organizer, and draw out this kite, and then come back and I'll kind of review it and explain it. But again, pause the video right now, come back after you've written all this down. Okay, so I'm gonna assume you paused the video and you got it all written down. So now what I want you to do is just make sure you have this written down and listen, because I'm gonna explain what all this means. So in your kite, the top angles and the bottom angle is called the vertex. These are the non-vertex angles. So when it says the non-vertex angles are congruent, so the angles on the sides of your kite are equal. Then it says the diagonal between the vertex angles is bisected. Bisected means cuts in half, so you might want to write that down. So that means when you have your kite and you draw a line through it, the vertex angles are cut into 2 parts. They're not necessarily equal to each other. It's just that each one separately is cut in half. So the vertex angles are cut in half. The non-vertex angles are equal to each other. Then number 4 says the diagonals are perpendicular. Well, that means where these diagonals hit in the middle is a 90-degree angle. That's what perpendicular means. So you might want to make a note of that. And then number 5 is not super important, but you can write it down anyways. But that's basically what you need to know regarding a kite. So using that information, I'm going to answer questions 6 and 9 on the bottom of page 7. So I would make sure right now you have your packet out and you're following along, and having that graphic organizer out too next to you, because we're going to use those properties to help answer the questions. So in number 8, it says find the measure of angle K. Okay, well, here's my kite. My top and bottom are vertex. My right and left are non-vertex. Now, if I go back to my chart, it says the non-vertex angles are equal. They're congruent. So if this is 88, angle K would also be 88. And so there's the answer to number 8. Okay, now for number 9, same thing. Find the measure of angle K. Well, I don't have M this time, so I can't just look at it and know the answer. I'm gonna have to draw out my diagonals here and use my properties from my graphic organizer. So one of the properties is that the diagonals are perpendicular. So if I draw out diagonals here, they're gonna meet at a 90-degree angle. Okay, I know that. Other thing I know is in this diagram, I have my vertex angles. I have 60 and I have 50. And I know my vertex angles are bisected, which means they're cut in half. So if 60 is cut in half, that means each of these is 30. And if 50 is cut in half, that means each of these is 25. Okay? But again, I'm trying to figure out what K is. This is just all the information I know by looking at it. I know the diagonals are going to be 90, and I know the vertex angles are cut in half. Now, what you can do is I can create a triangle right here. I have 30, and then this would be 90, and then I have this angle right here, which I don't know. Well, in a triangle, there's 3 angles. I have 30, I have 90, and then I have one I don't know. I do know that triangles add up to 180. So how I could find this angle right here is I could do 90 plus 30 and subtract that from 180, and that's gonna give you 65. So again, 180 minus 90 minus 30 gives you 65. So that's this angle right here. Now that's not the entire angle K. I got a part of it, but I don't have the final answer. Now, it does not mean the other side is 65, because remember, the non-vertex angles are not cut in half. So I have to do the same thing on this side where I have to create another triangle, and I have 25, I have 90 again, and now I gotta find this missing piece. We'll take 180, because it's a triangle, minus 90, minus 25, and that gives you 60. So now, now you can find the entire measure of angle K by adding those together. 65 plus 60 is going to be 125. That's going to be the entire measure of K. So that's kind of one of the harder ones we're going to do, but what you got to know about a kite is the vertex angles are cut in half, the non-vertex angles are equal, and in the middle you have 90-degree angles. So that's how we created 2 separate triangles. We found the missing angles, because we know triangles add up to 180, and we put those together to give me the entire angle of K. So there's 2 examples using kites. Okay. Now on page 8, we're not doing 10 and 11, so you can cross those out. What we did do was reviewed for number 12, and this is a trapezoid, and yesterday we learned the mid-segment of a trapezoid formula, and the formula is you always take the mid-segment, so you start with that. The mid-segment is 2x minus 1, so this is number 12. So you always start with 2x minus 1, or whatever is in the middle, equals 1/2 the sum of your 2 bases, and that should be on your graphic organizer under trapezoid. The mid-segment is half the sum of the bases. So always start with the mid-segment, equals 1/2. Then your bases would be 10 and 44. And you would solve this for x by just starting to distribute. Now, I'm going to tell you that x, I believe, is going to end up being, I think 17, no, it's going to be 14. X is going to come out to be 14. So what I would do is pause this video, go ahead and work this out, make sure you get 14 as the answer, and then I would also practice 13. So 13, so I would pause the video right now, check to see if you get 14, and try to set up the equation for 13, then come back. Okay, so I'm assuming you paused the video, you got 14. Now, to check your answer for 13, to set this up, start with the mid-segment. So 32 equals 1/2, and then the 2 bases would be 43 and 4x. So again, I would distribute that 1/2, and I believe you should have got 5.25. So that is all we did today. Tomorrow we're going to review some more with kites and trapezoids. So make sure you copy this down in the notes. Make sure you're ready for your review set quiz tomorrow. And please email me with any questions because I will be glad to help you.